Hi BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my July 2020 anticipated reads. Yes, let's talk about some books coming out in July. And I did double check that all of these, as of filming this video, are still slated to come out in July. I know a lot of publication dates are changing due to the whole COVID-19 thing, with publishers pushing out dates that were originally supposed to come out, and it's a thing, and I'm sure a lot of you have noticed it. But I did double check that all of these, as of right now, are still coming out in July. So how I do these videos is I like to look ahead to see what is coming soon for, for books in general. And I keep a list together, and then I pick my top 5 of that list, and I sit down and share it with you guys. So I like to do these in order of publication date as well. So first off, coming out July 7th, we have Not Like the Movies by Kerry Winfrey. This is the second book in the Waiting for Tom Hanks series, or companion series, I guess. So I read Waiting for Tom Hanks, I think it was last month, in May, and I really enjoyed it. It was super adorable, really great romantic comedy. So this is the follow-up book, and this is about the main character from that first book. This is about her best friend Chloe and the guy that Chloe works for at the coffee shop named Nick. And you meet Chloe and Nick in the first book. Yeah, I really do think, a lot of times I'm like, you don't necessarily have to read the series in order, but I think in this case you really do, because you will get a lot of the background of the two of them. So they work together. This is definitely going to be a enemies to lovers type story. The first book was super cute, super sweet. It was definitely a bit more on the cleaner romance side of the spectrum, if you will. And it was just a delightful romantic comedy. So I'm recommending this one based on the last book. And if it's anything at all like the last book, which I think hit my top 5 for May, you'll definitely like this one. So in this one, I don't want to say too much about it because it kind of gives away a little bit of what happened in the first book. But let's just say that there is a movie being made about Chloe and Nick. Now that they're kind of thrust into the spotlight, they're going to kind of see exactly how their non-relationship or what have you works out. Anyway, I'm rambling. It looks super adorable, and I highly suggest that you pick it up. Next up, coming out on July 14th, is After All by Kristen Proby. This is book number 3, the third and final book from my understanding, in the Romancing Manhattan series. So Kristen Proby is a really delightful contemporary romance author. I read a couple series by her, and I've really, really enjoyed them. So this is the third in the series. I have not read the first 2 yet, but I think I own them both for the Kindle. But this one just has so many romantic tropes in it, or romance novel, story themes in it, that there's a little something for everybody, it sounds like, in this book. So this is the story of a man by the name of Noah and a woman by the name of, his name is Carter. Her name is Nora and Carter. And the two of them have worked together for years. She's his assistant. And 5 years earlier, his wife passed away, so he's a widower, and he's got an 8-year-old daughter. So now recently he has started dating again. And no woman is really sticking around very long because his daughter, who's, like I said, is 8, is very, very angry about the whole thing. Probably dealing still with the death of her mother and, nobody replacing her mom and stuff like that. So Nora has never really noticed her boss before. They just kind of work together. And she's recently divorced, I think within the last couple years. And then, now, here's where we start getting into even more of the tropes, if you will. So we've already got the trope of a widower and a divorced woman, a single parent. Let's see how many we can list off in one. They say a snowstorm hits, and Carter and Nora are stuck together in the office overnight, and sparks fly. So that's pretty much the basis of this story. The only thing that kind of bothers me about this is the cover. That clearly looks like a beautiful summer day. Does it not? Like they're on the beach or by the water? But supposedly there's a snowstorm. Don't see the whole snowstorm thing happening. But I could be wrong. So, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, it sounds really, really cute. There's so many things in there that just, sound fun. That whole forced proximity. Again, a single parent. Things like that. A lot of great, this one sounds really adorable. And if you have not read Kristen Proby, I highly recommend that you do. Maybe start at the beginning of this series and work your way to this one. Like I said, this is only the 3rd book, but it's the 3rd and final. So this is a nice short series that you could work your way through relatively quickly. And they take place in Manhattan, New York. So that's always fun as well. Next up, coming out also on July 14th, looks like it's going to be a perfect summer beach or pool read. And that is A Walk Along the Beach by Debbie Macomber. Oh, can't go wrong with the Debbie Macomber. She can write great Christmas stories. She can also write brilliant summer stories. And this is definitely a women's fiction as opposed to a romance, even though there's probably going to be a romance in here. So this is about two sisters by the name of Willa and Harper. And when they were young, their mother died, and then their father was kind of lost in his grief. So Willa, as the older sister, pretty much raised her younger sister Harper, along with their brother Lucas. Well, now that they're all adults, Willa is helping Harper again because Harper now has this terrible illness. So Willa kind of helps her through it, and, you know, things kind of start to turn a corner. So now Willa wants to kind of branch out and finally do something for herself and open up this cafe and bake shop. Then there's going to be a romance between her and somebody, and it looks like the sisters trying to navigate a relationship with each other as adults. And it just sounds like a great beach read or a pool read, like I said. You know, I hate throwing this term around because I hate when it's used in conjunction with romance or things like that, but this definitely sounds like something on the lighter side. Not terribly heavy, not terribly depressing. You know, this is a book that is definitely going to make you feel happy at the end of it. And I think that's what we all need right now. So I highly recommend that you check this one out. Coming up next on July the 21st is a book I am super excited about. When I saw this come up, I had to double check that it was in fact a new book and not a reprint of a previous book that has already been published, and it is brand new. And that is A Fool's Gold Wedding by Susan Mallery. Now, this is only a novella, and this book was written and published to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Fool's Gold series. So the first book was published in May of 2010, Finding Perfect, which is one of my favorite books by Susan Mallery. This whole series is just an utter delight. It takes place in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, and it's just a great small town, and I love this series so much. Highly recommend it if you have not picked it up. But the last book was published in 2016, so it's been 4 years since we've had a book. Now, the fun thing about this story, now I don't know what number this would be in the series. The last book that was published, called A Kiss in the Snow, was also a novella, and it was book 20.5. So I don't know if this is going to be 20.6 or if they're just going to call it book 21 and be done with it. I don't know. Nothing is listed on Goodreads, so I cannot confirm any of that information. But if you've read the series and if you remember back to like I think it was the second book. So the first book was Chasing Perfect. Then it was Finding Perfect, I think. All three of the first titles, something perfect. I can't remember. I'll pop a cover of the first book up, or the book that I'm talking about up here as well. So in this story, it's the story of Liz and Ethan. And Liz and Ethan knew each other when they were younger. They had a bit of a fling. She ended up being pregnant. And then she ended up leaving town. She tried to get in touch with him. Couldn't. I don't want to give you the entire plot of that book. But regardless, she comes back to town to find out that she's got these two nieces that have been abandoned by her brother. And their mother took off and whatever. So she helps with Ethan, like at the end of that story, the picture that I have up here, they end up like becoming a big happy family, and it was a great story and I loved it. So spoiler alert, sorry. In this story, this is now one of those nieces. It's Abby Hendricks, and it's her story, and that's why I'm super excited because, again, it's one of those ones, if you read those first books 10 years ago, and that little girl was 11 years old or 12 years old, she's now 22, and now she's going to kind of get her own happily ever after, and I kind of love it. I kind of absolutely love it, and I am so thrilled with this one. This is definitely not a book for someone who has not read the series, who does not have this. This, in my opinion, was the kind of book that was written for the fans. Does that make sense? But again, I know there's a lot of you out there who have read Susan Mallery, and if you have and you love Fool's Gold, definitely know that this one is coming, and it's a definite must-read. And speaking of books that are a must-read, especially to me, you know that if she has a new book coming out in any given month, it has to be included on this list. Coming out also on July 21st, I can talk, is Deadly Touch by Heather Graham, book number 31 in the Crew of Hunters series. Yay, more Crew Hunters! I just love this series so much. For those of you who are new to my channel and do not know, this is one of my favorite series of all time. I think I am currently up to book 27, so I'm not that far off from, current. And this is a paranormal investigations team. As I always like to say, think the X-Files, but with less aliens and more ghosts. That's the crew of hunters. But they're an FBI paranormal investigations team. So in this book, our main character, whose name I believe is Raina, is trying on a dress at a shop. And then she gets a premonition of a body of a person in the Everglades. So this takes place in Florida. So then there's a man by the name of Axel, who comes down, and he is investigating or chasing a serial killer. And their kind of two worlds in a way collide. You know, what she saw was probably one of the victims of the serial killer, and there's a paranormal aspect to it. Sounds amazing. I love this series. The books, some of them can be hit or miss. Some of them are not as good as others. But overall, this entire series is just such a delight to me. And I am super excited about reading this one. So anyway, guys, that is all that I have for this video today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below, what books are you looking forward to that are coming out in July? Are there any that I mentioned that you are now looking forward to, or you were looking forward to? Or are there any that I didn't mention that you're looking forward to? Because I'd love to know that as well. And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.